Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games and the first part of my new 40k tournament terrain series. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll be taking you through the first steps of the process to build 16 tables worth of tournament worthy terrain for Warhammer 40,000 that's built specifically for 10th edition rules. Now if you've been following along, you may have seen my Age of Sigmar terrain build where I made this rogue idol, the Fallen Rogue Idol, which made an awesome fun set for Age of Sigmar. But Warhammer 40,000 is a little bit different, and with the new rules, we've got to make the terrain a little bit more formalised in size and shape. So in the video, I'll be taking you through that whole process. The first step was deciding on the size of the footprints for each of the terrain pieces. Because I'm making all this tournament from scratch, I'm not having to use any existing terrain, which is fantastic because I can use the Leviathan Tournament Companion as a guide. So I've gone for the 12-inch by 6-inch rectangles, 5 by 10-inch rectangles, and 6 by 4-inch rectangles. I want them to be a real part of the terrain feature. So what I've done is I've used this nice hardboard to be the base. It adds a lot of weight to the terrain, keeps it in place so it doesn't move around on the tabletop, and I could incorporate all the features of the terrain in and on it. And I'm almost going to treat each one of these bases as a kind of diorama, and so each terrain is going to be very clear exactly where it is on the table, where you're measuring to and from, and where the lines cross. Each table is going to have 12 pieces of terrain, so it's a lot of cutting, a lot of sanding. I sanded it all by hand so I could be nice and fine with it, and I don't have an electric sander, but it didn't take that long. About an hour and a half of sanding, I got them all done, and then you can see here's the finished look. I used the smooth surface for the bottom, and the textured surface is where I'm going to stick everything to. That texture really helps when you're adding like hot glue and PVA and things like that. So it's a really nice way to do it. And then it's nice and smooth on the other side where it meets the table mats. Once I've got to this stage, then I had to think about how I was going to build and add height to the different terrain footprints. I wanted all the tables to have a kind of standard format, but they must be themed as well. I want them to look cool, but work really well. And here you can see I've gone through the different sizes, I've gone through all the different levels. The bottom level on the ground floor is going to be completely solid, so you can't see through it. And then once I'd worked this out, I could think about how I could incorporate these dimensions into more themed sets. So if I wanted to put rocks in that bottom layer, I could certainly do that and then add themed sections at the top, like orc barriers and boards and panels and things like that. So now it was time to get some of this insulation foam and start cutting out all those shapes. I'll put some links to these so you can easily find it, but I went for 10mm, so this is going to be nice and thick, nice and sturdy. And then it's a case of just spending a few hours just marking it all out, cutting out all the shapes and getting all the different panels done. Now I've made 7 of these in one go, so that's a quick way of doing it, just doing the same process in each step. So like when I did all the cutting, I did it all at once, all the sanding all at once, all the cutting all at once, all the windows all at once, and so on until you've got everything done. And chunking it like that makes the whole process a lot quicker, much more efficient. I like to just score the line first gently so I'm not putting any pressure on the blade with my hand too close to it, and then go over it again and just use that scored line as a guide, hack through it, and then you can just simply snap that off. You get a nice crisp clean cut. You can go all the way through it if you want to with the blade just to help it off like that. And there we go, that's one section cut off. Now we'll just go through, do all the different wall panels for all the different shapes and sizes, and then we'll glue them together. And here they all are laid out on the table. This is enough for one set, so one table's worth of terrain. And then I use these cookie cutters for the windows. This saves a load of time. You don't have to measure or mark out the windows. Once you know the height you're going to go from, you can just pick the size and shape you want, put them together, and then you can start making all the windows on all the different levels really fast. That said, when you are doing 7 tables worth at a time, it's not a super fast process. You know, it's a number of hours just doing this. So by the end of it, I went to use like a thick piece of card to be like a press. Here you can see I've done it with the wood, and that just saves my hand a bit and helps get it through a lot quicker. And then once you get a process going, you can speed up. But you can go with rectangle windows, squares. I've gone for this kind of gothic look, so I'm going to be doing this on some of them, going for like the pointy tops to the windows, but others I'll be using just regular rectangles. And I also want to use this in other games too, not just Warhammer 40,000. It's going to be awesome for a zombie apocalypse city. Now if you're off with your cutter a little bit, it doesn't matter with this. Because it's a ruin, it's going to be chipped up and damaged later anyway with some battle damage. But if you do find you've gone off a little bit, just put your finger in there and squash it a little bit and then get it all in line. And there you go, you've got a nice ruined window ready to go. You can also cut out fancy shapes if you're doing like cathedrals or anything like that. And then you can even use the neck sizes up just to do little outlines. And rather than cutting it all the way out, just press it down a little bit just to score in that pattern a little bit if you wanted to. So there's lots you can do with these cookie cutters. They're really great. Here you can see I've done a bunch of rectangular windows, lined them all up, and I've been measuring from the bottom up to the first window 4 inches, and then from the bottom of the first window to the bottom of the next level up 3 inches, and that's a nice spacing. To make all the wiggly shapes, I just used my blade again, went through, snapped it off, and then for some of the bigger sections you can cut these bigger pieces off, and they're going to be the different platforms. Then I use a 60-watt temperature and a glue gun and stick them all together. And then you'll be left with the skeleton of the terrain, as you can see here. So this is 1 table's worth, as recommended by the Leviathan Tournament Companion. And it looks like a lot of terrain, and it certainly is when you play on it. But we've done a lot of testing, as you'll see later on in the video, and it worked out really well with some of the games down at the local club too. Here you can see all those windows with the angles at the top, and then all the different platforms, all the chipped off pieces to give that shape, just to break it up. So you're not just having L shapes, you're not just having rectangles. There's a lot of features going on, and there's still a lot of work to do on this. This is just the very first step. We've got to add rubble, we've got to add posters, and battle damage to it. But I wanted to get it to this stage so I could take it down the local club, and a big thanks to everyone there for testing it out and making sure it was playable and it worked, and made sure all the heights worked and the platforms and everything would sound. And yeah, it went down really well, and I'm really happy with how it worked. You can see the Baron of Dice objective markers there are working really well on the table with this terrain too. So fantastic. Really happy with this. And now once I got to this stage, I know I can go on and I can do all that theme terrain. I can make a lot more of this, start doing all that battle damage to it as well. And I'll be making some more videos on this so you can see it going right through the process from just the concept to being built like this to then having all the things like rubble added to it, all the different pipes and little wires and things like that. And then once I've added all that to it, all the textures and everything, it'll be time to get it painted up. So that's going to be quite a big job. Again, do it all in batches. I'll be doing all the bases first with PVA, gravels and sands. I'll be using hot glue and PVA to put wires and things on it. And then that's going to bring it to life and just give it a lot more character. And then rather than having all the tables looking exactly the same, even though I've done 7 of these city tables, they're still going to be a little bit different in the way they're painted. Some will be in the desert, some will be like a city that's been completely blown up and destroyed. And then I've got lots of plans for other things too. And you can see here on the right, I tried out how I could do a rock face. So this could be like a frozen area or just typical grey rock. And so the bottom is going to be all rock, and then I can build the platforms up from that. And so that's how the 2 would work. Here's one that's got a few floors to it, but I've gone for like a pillbox effect. So you've got a nice big opening there, and then you've got another platform on the top, and then again that rock around the bottom. But you can still get in there. You've still got that room on the footprint to get your models on and hide behind. And then battle damage is the next step. You can literally just pick at it like this. I'll be using like a spoon, a knife, all sorts of things, going over every piece like this. Then taking a screwdriver, but putting in one of these like almost Allen shaped keys, but they're like more like a star look to it, if you know what I mean. And then that's going to be great for bullet holes, and I'll get some different size and shape ones and literally just punch it all over all of these, trying to give some idea of different texture again, but bullets where they've gone in and hit it. And because it's not a perfectly round like pencil or something, it gives a nice effect. Again, all that just adds to the realism and just creates some nice textures for you to look at. It's going to take a little bit of time to do that, especially on this much terrain. Probably a day, to be fair, just to go through and do all the battle damage on it all. But when it's done, it's going to be awesome, and I just can't wait to get all these on the table and also have a go at a zombie apocalypse with all this. That's going to be really fun, playing some different game rules. Great if you come and join me for the next videos, and then once we get round to painting, I'll show you how I use this garage floor paint as a brilliant sealer. You can save a fortune using this, and then it's a very simple process. Saves you buying Mod Podge or using PVA and paint. Put this on, works a treat, and this is how I prepared all my Age of Sigmar terrain. I did like what 16 tables of that too, so I've got a ton of that made up. And again, chunking it, doing it all in each step in a big process is a really good way of getting this done. I feel like this 40K is going to take a little bit longer. There's a bit more surface area to paint, so I'll certainly need more than 1.5 tins for that. But really looking forward to get stuck into it and hope you come and join me. A massive thank you to all my sponsors for helping me keep going with these daily videos, especially to Baron of Dice and the Little Shop DVD and Games, who will be sponsoring the next tournament, the Warhammer 40,000 tournament on the 20th of August. It'd be great if you check out the video I made for Baron of Dice where I went through all their awesome premium dice selection, or just some of them. They do tons of different ones. Here's a great lineup of some that they kindly sent me out, but check out their objective markers. They are fantastic and make a huge difference in the tournaments. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you a little insight into what goes into preparing for these tournaments and making all the terrain from scratch. It's quite a big job, but I think when it's done, it's going to be so awesome to see it all out on the table. Once the battle damage, posters and all the details are added, it's just going to give it so much character. So it's going to be functional, but also it's going to be fun to play on, and it's all going to look unique and very different from table to table. So thanks again. If you liked the video, it'd be awesome if you hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. Are you a Warhammer 40k fan in the southwest of England? The TTSG 40k tournament is coming to Cornwall and we want you to be a part of it. We use Best Coast pairings and terrain that's been custom built for the new 10th edition. Our mats are the best you can get and objective markers are on all tables. You'll receive a gift box just for showing up and then play to win some awesome trophies and gift vouchers. Tasty food and drink is available all day. We even bring it to your table. Don't miss out on this awesome opportunity to compete against players from all over the region to be the TTSG Southwest 40k champion. Register now with the link down below. We can't wait to see you there. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these regular videos. I couldn't do this without you, and I appreciate your support so much. If you'd like to join the Patreon community, support the channel, get some great perks at the same time, there's a link down below in the description. It'll be awesome to see you there.